Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another forecast. So, today I'm not going to look too much at severe weather just because I need to focus more on snow weather for my own learning abilities. Real quickly, we're looking at this low pressure system moving through the United States, probably on a track of about, if I can draw an arrow here, this direction in general, but we don't know exactly where that's going to move, and that's what I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But essentially, what this is doing is bringing a cold front right through here, which is going to kind of create some tornadic storms and other things in the south. It's very similar to what we've been seeing a lot actually in the past few days, especially with that outbreak the other day on Tuesday. And the SBC has a 10% hatched region for tonight near the Arklatex, as well as 5% tornado region through the south right here, with wind being primary threat in the morning hours tomorrow. But that's not really what this forecast is about. I'm not going to look too much into it. There's a lot of sources that will tell you much more about severe weather. What I am going to look at, though, is snow. So I've been trying to understand snow to a better extent. And for this forecast, we're going to be looking at northern Illinois because primarily that's where this rain snow line is going to occur. So one of the hardest parts about predicting snow is the fact that snowstorms, which are based off the low pressure systems like so, have a snow side in the back end, not amazingly drawn, but you kind of get the idea, and a more rain precipitation type in the front end, like so. That means there's kind of this little line right here as a low pressure system moves by. That on one end, you can have really heavy snow if the low pressure system is strong enough, and then on the other end, it could just be rain. And that makes predicting snow amounts really difficult, which is something I've been trying to do all day, and it has been a hassle. Every time I look at all these models, they seem like they're changing. And that's part of the reason why it's so difficult to understand really where snow is going to drop. For now, I'm going to look mostly on what most of these models are going to be suggesting. One thing I've seen is that this low pressure system does not have snow right in the center. So right now I'm looking at the WRAP model, and you can see right here, this little circle right here, this will be our low pressure. And this green is indicating that rain is all around this thing, right? So until this reaches the Great Lakes, which I'm going to move this forward, right? So once this reaches moisture from the Great Lakes, that's when it finally becomes primarily snow throughout this entire system. But until then, you're only going to see higher snow amounts on this north edge near Wisconsin and maybe Iowa and possibly Chicagoland. But the main issue is, where will this low pressure go? As I said earlier, this low pressure system is moving on a track somewhat like this. But currently, some models are predicting it'll go a little bit more northern, which would mean passing right through central Illinois. Others are saying this will go a little more east, passing through areas such as Indiana. And there's this kind of uncertainty in this region right here. So, what a lot of models are showing, if I can move forward with this one, is a wider region of low pressure, right? Some of them think that low pressure will form in this region, and the center of low will actually move over to Indiana and such, and then move more of an eastern track, which is seen through I believe the NAM-NST is showing this a little bit. And see how the low pressure centers right here originally, but it actually shifts to this side and moves north, more on an eastern track. And the HRRR model is also showing a similar thing, a much earlier transition to a eastern low pressure system. What that means is that the heavy snow is much more likely in a system where it moves east rather than where it goes more west. Heavier snow will fall basically all over northern Illinois, which could lead to some pretty bad conditions. What I'm going to look at now is 6-hour snow accumulation, just because I do focus a lot more on this region, just because it's around where I live. At 12Z on Friday morning, so that is 6 a.m. Central Time, 6-hour snow accumulation for the HRRR is showing something around 3 inches here in the eastern side, 4 in the north, and around Davenport and the Quad Cities, more like 9 inches. As this moves on through the day, the heavier snow swaths are most likely from this low region. As this low pressure moves through, it's going to be getting all these moisture from the Great Lakes and basically dumping it this direction. However, that's also just the HRRR model. If we look at the WRAP model, this changes significantly, and a lot more of this snow gets dumped more in Iowa and a little bit more, again, Wisconsin-wise. Wisconsin is most definitely going to see a lot of snow tomorrow, but the NAM Again, you can see it here. The NAM, the RAP, all of them are saying Wisconsin's probably the main point. Just because the low pressure will be counterclockwise rotating. That's how they work. And that's where this is mostly going to get dumped. It's all this lake effect snow just dumps right here. But again, until we get a real select area of where the low pressure system will move, we can't really tell. Right? I can look at all these different models and say, oh, this one says 1.7 inches. This one says 2.7 inches. It changes every model I look at. Personally, I'm thinking this is going to take more of a western track, but I have to keep my mind open to the fact that it is possible for this low pressure to move more east, as we are seeing a few models now switching over to that, the NAM NST, the HRRR. But the regular NAM is seeing more of a western track early and then switching after it reaches Michigan, and the RAP sees a similar idea with not even a switch at all. One last model I also wanted to look at was the GEFS, which isn't actually really a weather model, but more so an ensemble forecast. This will take all sorts of different models, like the HRRR, the RAP, the NAM, all of these up here, and kind of combine them into an average forecast. And what this seems to think is northern Illinois will see quite a lot of snow, upwards of a foot actually, over this entire period, which is only 30 hours. So, and over the period of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., this is an increase of probably about, let's see, in eastern Illinois, 1.5 to almost 7.3. So in 12 hours, that would be about 5 inches of snow. It also depends on temperature, and all of this is very conditional to what it looks like tomorrow morning. So we will see as the day goes on. However, I also want to look at the WPC, which is the winter forecasting region. So what I'm looking at right now is the highest level of snowfall and what they think might happen regarding that, right? So this is the 5th percentile, meaning the minimum snow will fall, and 95 is the highest level. I could look at the 50%. 95 is essentially what I'd rather look at, just so we can see the most extreme options. If I zoom in here a little bit over to Illinois, we can see on the northwest section near the Quad Cities, we have upwards of 15 inches in this whole region. Mostly, again, lake effect snow dumping all over here. What really depends on is how early this low pressure system moves to the east. If it does it early, this can mean a lot more snow for up here. But we're only seeing somewhere from 4 to 6 inches from anywhere in this section, and 6 to 8 from anywhere in here. So it really depends on what happens. Again, it's very uncertain what's going to happen, but this is the best I can really do. And I am still learning snow weather. In all, do I really think northern Illinois will see 15 plus inches of snow? No way. That would be very excessive. But in the morning, the original leftover snow from Kansas and Missouri right now will move in and kind of like probably dump some over here, leading to some traffic and stuff. But I am very curious what happens in northern Illinois after that and during the day tomorrow. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.